Good evening, commissioners. This is Recording Secretary Bill Sandoval. We're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order at 5:34 p.m. We'll go ahead and do roll call. Commissioner Matthews,
Present.
Commissioner Gomez,
Present.
Commissioner Nelson, Commissioner Torreblanca,
Present.
Commissioner Wu, Commissioner Wu, I know she's here. I heard her.
Yeah, she was here, but she was in a concert at the park, so she might not be able to hear you.
Got it. Commissioner Herrera
Here, present.
and Commissioner Ramirez.
Here, present.
Thank you. We have a quorum. At this point in time, if I can ask Vice Chair Ramirez to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Sure thing. All right. Everybody with your right hand over your heart. Start. I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for that. At this point in time, if there are any public comments, if you can just please use the hand raise feature on your Zoom. And give it a few minutes, seconds here to see if there's any public comments. Not seeing any, we'll go ahead and move over to consent calendar. Consent calendar, we have the minutes of the regular meeting on July 28th, as well any excused absences. Can I get a motion in a second on that?
Our motion to approve them?
I second it.
All right, we'll do a roll call on that. Commissioner Matthews,
Yes.
Commissioner Gomez,
Yes.
Commissioner Torreblanca,
Yes.
Commissioner Wu.
Yes, I'm here.
All right, Commissioner, we just did the minutes of the meetings of July 28th and excused absences.
Okay, yes, I'm here. I'm approved
Commis-
and I'm here.
Great. Commissioner Herrera
Yes.
and Commissioner Ramirez.
Yes.
Duly noted. Thank you so much. Members of the commission, I should say, today we are doing some of our businesses that we tabled from the last month. Our first one that we are looking at is to elect a new chairperson and vice chairperson. With that being said, I'm gonna open up the floors for nominations of chairperson. At this point in time, the floor is open for nominations of chairperson. Does anybody, would anybody like to nominate somebody?
This is Commissioner Gomez. I would like to nominate Roberto Herrera.
Thank you, Commissioner Gomez. Anyone else?
I'd just like to second that motion as well.
Okay. Anyone else?
Hi, can I nominate Angie?
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any other nominations? Okay, not seeing any. Commissioner Herrera, by a count of 2 votes, you have been nominated for chairperson. Do you concede to the nomination?
Yes, I accept.
Thank you. Commissioner Herrera has accepted the nomination. We'll start off with a roll call once again. Commissioner Matthews,
Yes.
Commissioner Gomez,
Yes.
Commissioner Torreblanca,
Yes.
Commissioner Wu,
Yes,
Commissioner Herrera,
Yes.
and Commissioner Ramirez.
Yes.
Congratulations, Commissioner Herrera. You are the new chairperson of the Parks, Recreation and Community Services Commission. At this point in time, we'll open up the floor now for vice chair nominations. I will take nominations.
I'd like to nominate myself as the vice chair.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I would like to also nominate Andres for vice chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Gomez. Are there any other nominations? Not hearing and seeing any, I will go ahead and close the floor for nominations. Commissioner Ramirez, you have been nominated for vice chair. Do you concede to the nomination?
Yes.
Great, then we'll go do a roll call for this. Commissioner Matthews,
Yes.
Commissioner Gomez,
Yes.
Commissioner Torreblanca,
Yes.
Commissioner Wu,
Yes,
Commissioner Herrera,
Of course, yes.
Commissioner Ramirez.
Yes.
Excellent. Congratulations, Commissioner Herrera and Commissioner Ramirez. You'll go ahead and take over the meeting at the next upcoming meeting, and then we'll continue with this meeting at this point in time. We're moving on to
What do you need, Dylan?
business item number 4, and that is the update on the Santiago Park Gas House. I believe we have Susie Forjanic here as well. I don't know, Susie, would you happen to have at least a little update on that, or anything that we can share with the commission regarding the gas house?
I do. Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okie dokie. Well, the project is 74% complete. The current estimated completion date is October 12th. If you were to go out there right now, this is what you would see. The site's been completely graded. All the concrete sidewalks are in. The back wall for the amphitheater is done. The plumbing for the restroom is done. All the infrastructure, all the underground work, the irrigation, the electrical lines, complete. The light pole standards are in place. So it's really coming along. It's really, when you go out there right now, you can really get a sense for what it's going to be. Any
Thank
questions?
you. Thank you, Susie, for that. Does the
You're
commission have any questions?
This is Amina here. What is the name of this project and where is it located again?
It's called Santiago Park Gas House Area Development. So it's the section of Santiago Park just west of Valencia, just west of the Lawn Bowling Clubhouse.
Do you have an exact address?
Oh, oh my goodness.
If I were to Google it.
Can I later in the agenda get that for you?
That would be great. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello.
Well, there was a time that I knew these things on the top of my head, but right now I've got so much stuff up there. Okay.
Hi, Planner Ferjanic. My name is Roberto, and I was able to put this item on the agenda for today. This park is on Ward 3.
Mhm.
And residents, I really want to thank some of the residents, Brian and Linda, who had reached out to me. Linda reached out to me wanting an update on the gas house project. I know that there was some delay, and in reviewing some of the commission meetings, we hadn't gotten an update in some time. And so, last month I had added this item to our agenda for Brian and Linda. If you're listening, the project seems complete. It's almost on the way done. Susie, I have one more question. You mentioned 74% of it is done. Is there, the other roughly 25, 26%, what is included and still left in that project?
Okay, well, there's going to be a new playground installed on the east end, just next to the Oak Grove. That's yet to come. Landscape and above ground irrigation is yet to come. There is going to be 2 entry monument signs installed as part or I'm sorry, just one entry. No, I'm sorry, 2 entry monument signs installed as part of this project. I don't know if you remember the one that was installed at the Lincoln Pedestrian Way entry. That's going to be our new prototype monument sign at Santiago Park. There's going to be one installed at every entry point, pedestrian or vehicular. So this project will install 2. It'll be a nice iconic entry visual, letting you know that you are there.
Great, thank you so much. I believe
welcome.
this is a map of the park.
Oh, the address, the commissioner was asking for 2535 North Main Street.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much, Susie. Are there any other questions from the commission? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move forward with the rest of the business calendar. Thank you, Susie. Up next is business item number 5, which is the Main Library Transportation Project presentation. I'll turn this over to Brian Sternberg, Director of the library.
All right. Good evening, members of the council. Thank you for having me here tonight. My name is Brian Sternberg. I'm the Library Services Director. I want to give you all an opportunity to see what we're doing with our main library transformation restoration project, and also have an opportunity to introduce our architect who's been working hard on this project with us to come up with a great design and really help us reimagine what the Santa Ana Public Library looks like, what our services will be, and how we will move forward for the next 62 years, of being in this library. This library was built in 1959 and finished in 1960. It had one renovation in the very late 80s that was completed around 1990. And library services have come a long way and have changed a lot since we did our last renovation. The understanding of what a public library's role in the community has morphed dramatically. We've come from an era where the last time we did this renovation, it was very much libraries were about passive learning. You got a book, you sat down at a table, you read, you studied, and then you checked out a book and you went out about your business. Today, libraries are dynamic. They involve active learning. They involve community networking. They involve community building, and they involve learning actively, as opposed to this passive kind of, learning that we've done in the past. So we've rethought all of our spaces to take this new type of model into consideration and really bring the Santa Ana Public Library, up to date and as a library that, stands with the rest of the libraries in Orange County and positions us to be a leader in library services. So we have a lot of these new types of spaces, maker labs, interactive children's spaces, and our architect, Group 4, is going to do a quick brief presentation describing what some of those spaces, will look like in concept. We're still very early in the design, so remember this whole presentation is very conceptual. Lots of things may be moved around, but we want you to understand the why behind it. Why are we doing this? And that's kind of what I've just explained to you. And the types of services that these spaces will allow us to program for our community, for our residents, to ensure that it is relevant in the year 2022 and not relevant for the year 1989. So with that, I would like to introduce our architect, Group 4, and let them proceed with the presentation. And then afterwards, if you have any questions or you have some feedback for us, we'd love to hear that as well. And either myself or Group 4 can answer it. So without ado, I'd like to introduce, I believe we may have Jay Manzo from Group 4 Architects out of South San Francisco that will walk you through a number of slides and kind of, give you an update on what we've been up to. I know I've talked about this project a lot in the past, and now you can kind of see it starting to come to life. So with that, I will let Jay take it away.
Thanks, Brian. We're really excited to talk to you about this and share with you what we're thinking to show you the transformation of this library. It really is a gem of a building, and like everything that Brian said, the library is really moving forward, growing forward to be something a little bit much more active than it was in the past. This is an old picture from the 60s, and we want to maintain the spirit of this library as it was conceived, but also we're just excited to help bring it forward. So let's go to the next slide. We are Group 4, and I am a project architect. I'm also filling in for Andrea, who's the project designer, who has a lot more knowledge about the inner workings of libraries and how they live and breathe. But Group 4 is really spanned across the country, from California, Ohio, Washington, and it brings a huge range of experience to this library. Let's go to the next slide. You can vote. And we've also teamed up with Page and Turnbull, which is an architecture firm that specializes in historic buildings and understands the sort of care that needs to go into restoring them, is able to dig into the history of these buildings, understand what they were, understand, maybe how they got changed, and help us sort of excavate out the aspects of the library that we'd like to find again and rediscover. I think Page and Turnbull is pretty well known up here in San Francisco. I've seen several projects with them go through, but I know that down in the LA area, there's also something like the Cheech Center. And please go to the next. We've also teamed up with a group of, how to describe it, they do children's experiential design. They're out of Chicago. They're called Lucy Creative. And if you've ever been to like sort of a children's museum, science museum, they're the people who think up all the cool exhibits. Either they're sort of flat exhibits or three-dimensional ones. Usually for kids, they involve a lot of touching, manipulating, doing things. And this is something that's key, we think, to becoming an active learner in a library. So here's the original building, 1958, 1960, sort of pristine. And when we go forward to the next slide, here it is now. It's still looking good. It's still, been around the block several times, and like anything, an old building needs to be needs repairs. Need to repair the windows. We know we need to fix the marble, and we also want to continue changing the landscape, putting new lighting in. So let's walk around the building. The proposed idea is improving the east side of the building, thinking of a garden there, looking at how as we turn around the corner, how we can create a new parking areas with new accessible stalls, reconceiving the building with having a new public entry along the south that keys into sort of the new access that's coming in from the east side, and then expanding the children's patio with the porte cochere, that covered structure to sort of make a bigger play area. again, and here we can just describe like in detail, on the north side, we're improving the walkways, new fencing around this east garden. We're going to remove some of the trees that have gotten way too big. And this east garden is going to have more seating areas, different areas for different activities that the library would like to do outside. They'll also reestablish a meeting room that will have after hours access, new trash, new accessible parking, that new south entry, and we're going to be, revising how the bookmobiles will be parking back into the library. And then also there's the expanded patio. So moving inside the building, thanks. Moving inside the building, let me tell you about what we're going to do inside. Let's go to the next slide. So the teen and makerspace, the teen area, which used to be in the basement, is now moving up to the second floor, and there's going to be a makerspace associated with. And if you haven't seen what a makerspace is, it's like a space where like there's laser, like 3D printers and maybe a laser cutter. It's where teens will be able to create all sorts of stuff. Some of it will involve video cameras and such. So pretty exciting that they're going to have their own sort of they'll again have a new space for them. Downstairs, there's going to be, on the other side of the building, there's going to be the newly sort of changed history rooms, and there'll also be some meeting rooms that span across the large mezzanine area. There's going to be lots of updating of the seating, the technology, and the collections as well. And here's a plan of it. This library is sort of being sort of carved out into sections again, but the youth area and children's area is going to be growing. The adult sort of books will be moving more to the east side. The meeting room will become a little bit enlarged. And what you're seeing in the center is the marketplace. And that is a term that we use for all the popular stuff, all the stuff that has like really frequent turnaround that people really want to come in and get immediately. You can see that we're going to try to reinstitute a fireplace reading room. And that was a portion of the building that was originally there and then got taken out in the 1990s renovation. And we're going to put that back in, and it'll become a reading room that is right next to the Friends of the Library bookstore and the circulation desk. Next, please. Upstairs, that's where the adults go in the center for all the adult collections. And then on either side, bookending, you have the local history room with some exhibits showing the history of Santa Ana, all sorts of cool artifacts, study rooms that will go with that. And on the other side, on the east side, you'll have the young adults area and the maker rooms. And then in between, some study rooms and the admin staff that would be on the west side. And next, please. And then downstairs in the basement, that's where sort of the hive of all the staff is going to be working. There's going to be the archive down there that has the sort of really sensitive historical materials. That's where the Friends of the Library will keep all their books. And that's also where there'll be break rooms as well for staff and meeting rooms. We're also going to be introducing on that north side some light wells to bring in some more daylight. The major part of this transformation is bringing the building infrastructure up to 2020. So that means we're going to be putting in a new, we're going to upgrade the existing elevator. We're going to put in a new accessible elevator. Restrooms are going to be expanded. The mechanical system is most likely going to be completely changed and revamped, as well as the technology and security. And all this turns out to be, under the rubric of sustainability. We want to build something that's going to be going on for the next, 70 years of the life of this building. And as a showcase for, kids who are learning about, the world now, try to make the library really a place where they can understand all the forces that are going on. Oh, next, please. Oops. There was the outsiders that wonderful lucky climber, and this is going to be one of the sort of central part of the library of the children's sort of experiences, being able to go outside, run around, be in that lucky climber, but then also come back into the library and sort of recharge within the library. So if you go to the next slide, this is about the sort of children's area. What we're trying to do is make sure that this is a place where caregivers and the children are able to work to do things together. It's not a passive thing. It's going to be really quite interactive. And we're trying to make sure that this is really intergenerational friendly, that it's like not just for little kids, but for their grandparents, for their sisters and siblings. So it's all to sort of allow a very holistic approach to the children's area. And a lot of these things you've probably seen before. They're very tactile, manipulatable. Sometimes they're making they might make a little bit more noise, but it's all focused in on this sort of this stream concept where it's like something about science, technology, it's reading, it's engineering, it's art, it's mathematics. All these things, all these exhibits are to sort of help the child sort of interlink those ideas. And again, it's active. Next one, please. These are some of the examples that Lucy Creative has done in other libraries. I can attest, I remember when my sons were doing, we go down to the library and all they would do is like work on the wall with these things. Next, please. So here we are in August. We're still in concept and schematic design. So lots of things are still up in the air. We're still thinking about things. We're still trying to get that big why, understand that big why and where we want to go. It's going to be a process by, next summer. We'll be going into probably bid and construction. So during the year between now and next August, we'll have done all sort of our design development. We'll have done the construction drawings, and then hopefully we'll be like breaking ground sometime in the fall, and then that will take up to almost another year into 2025. So love to hear any comments. I hope I haven't gone too fast or if I didn't hit upon any things that Brian, that we wanted to talk about. But we'd love to hear from you about, what do you think?
This Commissioner Gomez, I just want to say how amazing everything sounds, and having a fireplace to read upon, and then having I think you mentioned a bookstore as well. That's amazing. I'm super excited and I can't wait to see it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gomez.
We're excited too. And the fact that trying to make the fireplace and the bookstore fit together, that's a real trick.
I want to second Commissioner Gomez's comment. It's wonderful to see this design. I can't wait to see it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah, hello. So this is Commissioner Torreblanca. I'm a big fan of the hands-on learning tools. I've worked with kids for a while, and I know that they really, even me growing up, I learned a lot better through these hands-on tools. So I'm a big fan that you guys are integrating those. Did I hear correctly that you're going to be integrating stuff like that in the history rooms as well?
No,
I think
was
that just along the other space that you were talking
about.
That's
the other space, the kid space, sorry.
So, but Commissioner Torreblanca, I think a little bit of what you heard there is actually correct. So what I'm trying to do is with the history room is really make it more accessible. Right now, the current history room, just because of the layout and everything is kind of just sitting out in that room. And remember, the building wasn't designed to have a history room in that current location. These things kind of all ended up where they are over decades. So what we're going to do is, like Jay said, we're going to bring that history room upstairs. We're going to kind of recreate a lot of what the original footprint of the building was. So that's where the restoration of a historical building comes in. But in recreating that, we are going to make the space accessible to anybody who wants to come in there. So things will be out and will be displayed in a safe way. Maybe it's a table that has glass on it and it's an encased. So you'll be able to sit down, read a book, maybe from the history room or a book from the library, or use your computer. And below you might be historical photographs or artifacts from Santa Ana's history. And around you will be things safely displayed as well. So it's really making everything more accessible and equitable. And that is exactly what we want to do throughout this entire project. I'm trying to maximize every square foot of the first floor and the second floor so our community can use it. And that is one of my major priorities throughout the whole project. So yes, it will in a lot of ways, it not necessarily like hands-on, like a children's style exhibit like you'll see downstairs, but it will be accessible and people will be able to interact with these artifacts in terms of being up close and being able to see them better.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. And then just following up, I did also just I just had a comment on I saw earlier you guys were talking about reimagining the landscaping. And then I know from like the last like 2 renovations it did, I mean there was like a bunch of grass, which grass is great and all that until we hit issues with water. So I just wanted to recommend that we just look more into drought resistant plants and landscaping and just really try to lead by example with that. I mean, I'm sure it was already on the agenda, but I just really want to mark my my concerns, just that it gets looked into further.
100%, Commissioner Torreblanca. That's exactly what we will be doing, and that is the lens through which all of our new landscaping will come in.
All right, and that's it for questions for me. Thank you.
Thank you.
And it's Commissioner Ramirez. I have a comment. Cool. Can you guys hear me? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
Commissioner.
I want to say I love everything to hear about the library. It seems like everything's going really well. There's a lot more than I expected a library to hold, and I'm super excited about that. Big fan of the fireplace. I myself enjoy reading, and just doing it in front of a fireplace just gives you incredible feelings to just want to go to the library just for that. My only comments would be in the makerspace, if possible, to have some kind of musical instruments in there. Along with either like a program to help the kids learn how to do instruments, kind of give the kids a way to get their hands on a musical instrument, just to learn something that they normally wouldn't at home. Another one would be for the local history room. I'd love to see if some way to add a model in there, a model of 4th Street or historical Main Street, some kind of way to have people see and kind of like in a way go back in time. So it'd be nice to have the building, the room itself be historical, but also be able to look at something from a bird's eye view of what the city would have looked like at that time. Some way, or if not just a historical perspective of a building that has been renovated recently, to have an older version of that building there, just to, again, give the kids or adults an ability to kind of in a way look back in time. Those would be my only comments, and hopefully anything that can be added in there if it's not too late to add those things. Beyond that, everything about from the slide seemed great. It seems like a lot of things and a lot of opinions and ideas have been gone into this. So it's really a wide net that you guys are casting. It's great. You guys are going to be helping so many people.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Ramirez. Yes, we actually already have that type of, you were talking about the musical instruments. Our teen space has those programs already. We have guitars, ukuleles, and we do that now. Then that will continue to be a part of our programming. And, we're looking at the digital music, and and doing a lot of that kind of stuff too. So absolutely on that. We actually, to your point about models and things like that, surprisingly enough, Commissioner Ramirez, we actually have some of those types of artifacts already in the history room, and I plan on displaying those things too. So we do have some models of historical street scenes and stuff of Santa Ana. So we'll definitely be looking into how we can display those items.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I do see that Commissioner Matthews' hand is up. Go ahead, Commissioner Matthews.
Thank you. Can we explore the idea of having a coffee shop in the library? area, in the patio or something. That would be nice since we're looking at fireplace, we're looking at the bookstore. Let's look at coffee shop as well if we can.
Well, we can do that. I will say that some of the other coffee shops, like recently at the Placentia Public Library, that's a library district, they recently closed theirs because of a lot of these coffee shops. That's kind of been a model since I would say the mid 2000s, and a lot of libraries have actually taken those out because they're very hard to sustain unless you have a really strong consumer base that's taking advantage of those, and being so close to downtown and 4th Street and just the areas around here, it might be hard for us to maintain that. And like I said, a lot of the libraries that I know across the USA, a lot of them have actually come out. I would recommend you instead of coffee shops, Commissioner Matthews, utilizing those spaces as active learning spaces for teens, for adults, for children. If we're looking at some revenue generating, like what a coffee shop might do, my plan is to have a meeting room, a large meeting room that can be used after hours and kind of closed off from the rest of the library. And I'm exploring the possibility of utilizing that as a rental space where, people might, instead of, could bring in their own food, beverages and things like that and rent the room out, and following a very much a Parks and Rec kind of model for how we would charge and doing a cost analysis on those that pricing. So yeah, I honestly, my best recommendation would be to use the space as community learning and activity space.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everyone. Are there any other questions from the commissioners?
Yes, this is Commissioner Herrera. Hi, I wanted to ask about in the front on your presentation, there are 2 folks that are sitting there on the grass, and in line with Commissioner Torreblanca, I would also support drought-resistant plants, but maybe a seating area or something in the front, seen as though that is probably a lot of shade that folks get, from this side of the building. So, I don't know how that, I see them on the grass. I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool, but I think visibly seeing folks from the street is going to, entice and welcome folks. And so if there's some sort of tables or, hey, let's study in the front of the library, I can see that. I also, for the children's patio area and also the improved East Garden. I don't know if it's kind of like very sunny on one side and like shady on the other. And so, what I would say is I think we need more shade at the patio area with, so, I know that place is hit by the sun, all day. And so, I know that the shade structure is at the top. And so in some way where it kind of covers horizontally to, if that, once that space is expanded, I think that would, the youth are like on there and, they make it burned. So I think that, you mentioned the garden. Is it more of like, what kind of garden? Is it like, like plants? Is it like an edible garden? Is it like seeding incorporated in this area?
It's more like an activity garden. So it's more like a place where people can like go out, the library can have outdoor activities with kids or with adults, maybe book groups go out there in nice weather. Some of those trees are going to have to go that they've gotten big, so you'll get more sunlight in there. But definitely the idea would be to create distinct areas where groups can meet, sometimes at the same time, or have different, programs going on. And correct me if I'm wrong, Brian, but then also to have shade for those areas as well. So definitely on the south side, I think there's a shade structure already going in maybe, but the entry would have like a trellis of some sort, in the front, so people could, come in if they hang out while they're parking, or someone's parking, or they're waiting for somebody to come. So they would be somewhat in shade and sun. But then on the east side, that's sort of an enclosed area, and it's dedicated to the library. So you'd have just, again, different program areas and a certain amount of like, sunny shade, hopefully, to, retreat from when it gets hot.
Great. I love it. I think that that's a great description, and I think it's definitely needed more space, right? And so I like that. I like the shade. It's very important. I know there's portions of the zoo that also has seating and a nice shaded area, right? I think the study rooms, I believe the library in Costa Mesa has soundproof walls, and so they're able to play videos. I'm thinking about the college students that are doing like preparations and presentations, and so sometimes, hey, you play a YouTube video and you're like, hey, turn it down, and we can hear you from the outside. I don't know if that's included as well.
We're definitely looking at, where the study rooms are going to be, which ones are going to be noisy, which ones are going to be quiet. So you have to sort of figure out the adjacencies, and what can handle what. But there's definitely areas that are going to be noisier, and definitely areas that are going to be quieter. So it's just a question of, figuring out where those are and then building appropriate walls. But I think, we'll be working with Brian and his team on identifying those spaces.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the whole idea. Right now we really don't have. We don't really have any study rooms at all. There's no place for people to go. We have a large meeting room upstairs, but that's not a viable study place. Like, if two people want to go in and study, and it's not great in terms of accessibility, for what the setup is now. So absolutely, Commissioner Herrera, we do want to create these and making them, so people can talk without disturbing others is important. But do remember this, that public libraries, like I said, when I was introducing this project, they're not quite as the quiet spaces. They're more like community centers, hubs, hives of activity. So, I think the Santa Ana Public Library kind of reflects that, and we see our community using it that way. We see kids playing in here, and we want to encourage our community to get to know each other in here and build community, because I think that's what really what we're all about in many ways. We're about community and education. But to all your points, and to what Jay said, a shade structure is actually, we are working on getting in. That's the second phase of the Lucky Climber and children's play and learn patio, is to put some shade umbrellas in there. We're working on that right now. Those should be going in fairly soon. And then that will definitely be the lens, to ensure that we provide, like Jay said, a combination of shady spaces where you can retreat, sunnier spaces, but just really making it more accessible, more equitable, and more inviting for all of our community to use.
Great, thank you. I have two more points. One, in the history room, I think LGBTQ component, LGBTQ history, as it relates to Orange County, I think would be appropriate. And I did see the entrance for the Knowledge Mobile in kind of conjunction with Commissioner Matthews' coffee shop. I've seen like coffee shop on wheels, and so maybe a taco truck that can go in that space whenever the Knowledge Mobile is not available, or hey, we pull in, or I don't know, that's what came to mind. But I question, like, hey, are other folks able to use that entrance for like a taco truck? I know we see that at like parks and movies in the parks where they kind of like pull up, but as an idea, I don't know if it's feasible, but I think it would be cool as an option.
Commissioner Herrera, definitely for our events, especially our larger scale events, that's a great spot to potentially, put a taco truck or, whatever else might go in there. Yeah. So for sure for that, and we can look at other opportunities as well. Yep. Love it.
I have no further comments.
Thank you, everyone. Is there any other questions from the commissioners? Great, seeing none, we're gonna go ahead and move to item number 6 on the new business calendar. That is the Parks and Master Plan app update. Susie, would you happen to have a brief update on the Parks Master Plan?
Hello again, everyone. How can you be brief with the Parks Master Plan, right? It's chock full of goodness and all kinds of stuff, but I will try my best. First, I want to say that the Parks Master Plan, when we went through the process, there were 9 emerging themes that resulted from all the conversations and surveys and interviews that we did. I'm going to run through them quickly. Safe and inclusive parks, diverse parks, dynamic programming, equitable, green connections, community culture and identity, youth engagement and development, health and wellness, and partnerships. These are all on page 54 of the manual. And I bring this up for 2 reasons. One, because it's kind of the overarching goal that captures everything that's contained within the Parks Master Plan. But these are all themes that we think about every day, no matter what we are doing. So these concepts are blended into all of our thought processes and conversations. It's just part of our dialogue. Having said all that, on page Roman numeral 14, there's an action plan. There's 12 steps that were identified. And again, we're thinking about them all. We're talking about them all. Right now, there's 5 that we've been spending some time with. The first one, prioritize maintenance and asset management. There's been a lot of work done with this one. You've all met George Acevedo. He joined our team. He is revamping that whole organization. There's going to be a lot of changes, some reorganization, ramping up funding. So he's doing a lot of work. Later on in the agenda, we're going to be reviewing the Parks and Facilities staff report. We've restructured that a little differently. A few meetings ago, we've created a capital section and a park maintenance section so that you could see more clearly what park maintenance is doing. We're going to continue to evolve that so that it's even a crisper picture of what they're doing. They're doing a lot. Second thing that we're looking at is increasing park impact fees for new development. Our residential development fee structure needs to be revisited, assessed, and updated. Along with that, the accessory dwelling units that we're starting to see permits and applications come in for, we need to develop a formula with that. So we're currently drafting an RFP to find and retain a consultant with expertise in that area to help us out with that process. The third item, increase funding for parks. We've received, we're constantly looking for grant opportunities, getting grants, cannabis monies. Most recently, we got additional ARPA funds for park acquisition. We have a total of $11.3 million right now in ARPA funding for acquisition. So we're actively looking for funding. Item number 7, develop the Golden Loop and key trail corridors. I have a meeting next week with traffic engineering to talk about the Golden Loop, which is a approximate 10-mile trail that goes around the city. It's nearly completely implemented. There's 2 gaps that we need to close, so we're going to take some steps to make sure we get those closed. And then the last item I want to touch on is evaluate additional park acquisition opportunities. We've been spending quite a bit of time with this recently, identifying areas that have presented themselves that we want to take advantage of. And I'll give you a few examples. There's a number of vacant parcels along Bristol that we will be taking ownership of and developing. There's 2 large sections, one at Tolliver Street, one at Myrtle Street. And then there's a small parcel just north of 17th that we're taking a look at. There's also, and these were all parcels that resulted from the Bristol widening that occurred a few years back. There's also Warner Avenue is, there's a widening project happening right now. There's a lot of remnant parcels there too. We're talking about acquiring those and developing a linear park along Warner Avenue. That's another area where we're looking. The Armory that is between Delhi Park and Monroe Elementary School, where we have a joint use agreement. We're looking at potentially trying to acquire the Armory so that we could make that connection and then go through a master planning process for that whole site. So those are just some highlights, but there's a lot to do and it's very exciting. So you probably have questions. I could probably spend the next 3 hours talking about this document. So I'm going to just leave it there. And if there are questions, I will answer them as best as I can. And if there is something that I can't answer or that you would like for me to come back to you next meeting and present out on more, I can do that. Okay.
Great. Thank you so much, Planner Furtanek. My name, in regards to this item, I included this item on today's agenda, well, last month's agenda, and it got pushed for today. And this was, the Parks Master Plan is a 300+ page document. And on my social media as a Parks Commissioner, I polled folks and I asked them if they've read the Parks Master Plan. And sadly, no one marked, read all 300 pages. And so for me, I wanted to bring this item to the commission for us to break down the Parks Master Plan, first ever in our city. And there are so many chapters and so many specific issues that personally, like, I feel prepared to talk about, and present on. And so I wanted to bring this, so maybe, request an ad hoc or request a subcommittee to meet outside of the commission meeting to prepare monthly presentations for the commission in relationship to the different topics that are through the master plan. Some areas that I think would be important to cover in a monthly presentation would be park access and park equity. These are 2 distinct different things, but they kind of, they intersect. I also think it's important to talk about projected density in our city. And what does that mean as we start to create and have to create more parks and expand our parks? The trails and corridor connectivity, as you mentioned, joint use agreements with our schools, and also environmental justice issues. So I think there's a lot of topics that we can bring to a presentation together for the commissioners and also for the public. Right, this document is for the next 10 years. Like, well, we hope with they make another Parks Master Plan, right, in 10 years following the census. It's really going to help us in, like, what are we doing as commissioners right now with this plan? We got the plan, it was passed. What do we do with it? Do we shelve it, or do we take it out and we start to go through the Parks Master Plan? And, hey, I'm only a Parks Commissioner till 2024. So, within these first 2 years of the next 10 years, what is our role to educate the public about this Parks Master Plan? So this commission can look back and move forward on those items, as we're working through it right now, but in the future as well. So that's my, I guess, my request is to create an ad hoc committee or subcommittee to meet outside of this space to workshop some ideas for a presentation for staff to come back and present on these items.
Thank you, Commissioner Herrera. May I suggest that since you are the new chairperson for the commission, that at the next meeting, we talk a little bit more in depth about this and give an opportunity for our commissioners from this meeting to sink their teeth into something like that, and then come back at the next meeting, and possibly if any other commissioners want to be a part of a standing committee, then we can identify what that standing committee is going to be about. And then at that point in time, we can definitely see who would want to be a part of that.
Great, thank you.
You have the ability to share your screen too, if you want.
Thank you so much, commissioners. Are there any other questions regarding the Parks Master Plan?
I had a question. Hi, Commissioner Torreblanca here. So you briefly mentioned the Golden Circle, right? And connecting that there's two areas that need to be connected as well. And so that, sorry, can you just speak a little bit more on that, on like what that, on what like the two areas that need to be filled in?
Okay, so there is an area at the very northern edge of the Maple Bike Trail. I believe it ends currently at Chestnut. There's a gap between that and Santiago Park. So we're looking, traffic and I are having discussions about how we're going to get from that point to that point. Do you know which area I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually that's why I bring it up, because I know, I mean, you mentioned you were talking to traffic. I was wondering, what are the plans on speed control? Because I mean, I'm a bike commuter myself. I take my bike all around the city, and even along like the Pacific Electric Bike Trail, there's plenty of times where I'm, you know, going along the trail and cars will zoom by, even on a yield, even on a stop. So I was wondering if there's any plans on getting any sort of speed bump to kind of mitigate that. Because there's been a few close calls, and I mean, I do try to be safe, as I'm sure a lot of our bike riders do. But I mean, you can never be too safe, especially when you mix cars with bikes.
I will absolutely bring that up in my meeting with him.
Thank you. And no
Thank
further
you,
comments.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any other questions from the commission? Great. Seeing none, we're going to go ahead and move to our next item, which is the Santa Anita Park renovation update. I will go ahead and turn this over again to Susie for a brief update.
Okay, I'm popular tonight. Santa Anita Park, new soccer field and park improvements. Big project, long time in the making. We broke ground last Monday, August the 15th. The estimated completion date is November the 6th, 2023. So between now and then, the entire park is closed. The entire park is getting a facelift. What's happened just in the past week and a half since this occurred is the general contractor has mobilized. We've had our first on-site field meeting, and we're currently going through a process where we're reviewing submittals. We're reviewing things like, you know, concrete mixes, landscape and irrigation components, lighting, drainage infrastructure, thank you, shade structures, playground equipment, things like that. We receive submittals and then we review them to make sure that they are as specified per plan, and then we approve them, and then they can place their orders. So we're gearing up, and that's where we're at.
Thank you, Susie. Are there any questions from the commission?
I have a question.
Go right ahead, Commissioner.
Sorry. Yeah, I have a question. I don't know, from my experience, I don't think I've gotten either a slideshow or a packet saying what the schedule is going to be looking like. So what months and what times there's going to be certain construction, what kind of times are they working on, what areas are they trying to work on. So I'd like to just get I'd like to get access to some kind of informational pamphlet or something that gives me access to understand what's the scheduling, and also how's everything looking like, when certain things are expected to be fulfilled, when other things are expected to be started on. I'd just like to get some access to something that'll give me that kind of information.
Yes, we can prepare that for you and get it forwarded.
Please and thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ramirez. Are there any other questions or comments?
Hi, Planner Furgenek, Roberto again, and I had submitted this item for our commission meeting today in relationship to the Santa Anita Park. In communication with Councilmember Tyviet Fan, and also with our Executive Director, Scott, trying to increase access to the mobile home residents in that high density area. I know just trying to communicate with the mobile home owner to get that project started or at least have discussions in it. So I just, for the record, I just wanted to mention that that is something, at least in my interest, wanting to increase access to the mobile home residents. There's a wall that's there. And so, ADA accessibility very quick. So then that way they don't have to go all the way around. So yeah, I just wanted to mention.
Yeah, that's already been brought to my attention and we're taking steps to explore that.
Executive Director, you have a comment?
Yeah, when we met there at the movie night, you did say you were going to try to get me a direct number. We did call the mobile home and I did leave a message and I haven't returned anything back. So I think our next step might actually go there. We have walking the, we did walk the perimeter back there with two of our, with like I said, Mike and George, and it is possible, but at the same time, we just need to get in contact with them. So if you can maybe reach out to your contact again, that would be a great help. But I mean, we have tried. And so, but our next thing is we might actually go in person and try to catch them in the office, because a couple of times we have gone, they haven't been there. So if you could help us out, that'd be great.
Great. Thank you so much, Executive Director.
Thank you, Commissioner and Executive Director. Are there any other questions from the Commission or any comments? Great, seeing none, we're gonna go ahead and move over now to, we have informational items. This is our staff reports. There are no actions that need to be taken with this particular item. We'll start up with the library staff report.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Once again, I'm just going to run through a few quick items for the Santa Ana Public Library. First, I want to mention a brand new Power Up station at our main library. We have had a lot of interest in the past. People come into the library with their iPads and phones and devices, and they want to connect to Wi-Fi, but oftentimes, there's limited power and, devices are running low on battery. So we thought, why not invest in, a brand new charging locker? You see some of these sometimes at airports and other places like that. So we said, we need one of those at the library. So we do have those. We're piloting one and just kind of seeing how it gets used here at the main library. Definitely something we want to, look to expand in the future. It looks like it's, doing pretty well. It can charge iPads, it can charge phones, it can charge, a lot of the mobile devices that people bring. And it's been, widely used by our patrons. So that's something that we'll continue to look to expand in the future. And we've gotten some positive feedback on it as well. And also, I just wanted to remind you, I know in our presentation, our architect mentioned bookmobiles, and that is absolutely right. We do have another bookmobile in the early stages. This is going to be a larger vehicle. As I've said in the past, I just want to give you guys another update on it. It's going to have things like, a TV on the outside, large screen TV, sound systems, more room for collections and books, and just more capability to do all of our programming that we do at parks, at schools, at community centers. And we'll continue to roll that out. We actually get we have so much demand for our bookmobile now. We're canceling stops to go to other stops. We're almost like double booked half the time. So we have this spreadsheet that we're using just to track all of our ever-changing routes for our bookmobile. So this just shows that another bookmobile is definitely needed, and we're going to even go bigger on our next one. So that's something excited to look for. Just remember, with vehicles, and the shortage of, chips and all parts and steel and everything like that, the lead times on these things are much longer than they used to be to build these custom vehicles. But it is in the works, and we're going to move forward with it, and it's going to be really exciting when it does roll out. Outside of that, we'll have a library newsletter coming out. We usually have 40-50 programs at least every month. So, instead of me going through all of them, you see a recap of what we did in August. September is a busier month, more programs. We have some great authors for Hispanic Heritage Month. We have a Moon Festival program out there. I believe we have Dungeons and Dragons programs, lots of media makerspace types of programs for kids, STEM programs. So look for our newsletter coming out. If you're not on the newsletter and you don't receive it, you can go right to the front page of the library's website and just click to sign up there, and we'll make sure you get the newsletter every month when it does come out. So with that, I am done, unless anybody has any questions they'd like me to answer.
Hi, Commissioner Torreblanca here. Not a question, just a comment. I love that you guys are integrating Dungeons and Dragons programs into the library. I'm a big follower of the game in itself, and I think it's a great way for people to learn critical thinking and group skills. And I think it's great that you guys are implementing this and that it's getting out to our kids and our teens.
Yeah, I believe we have some staff members, and I believe there is a program like that for September. So look for that. Should be pretty
Awesome.
fun. Thank you, Commissioner Torreblanca.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move to the next.
This is Commissioner Herrera. Sorry, chatty bunch. I love our library director, Sternberg. I went to go get my park pass. It was
great.
Very easy. It took me about 2 weeks to get this, and I have it for 3 weeks. I can go visit any state park for free. And Crystal Cove, it's about $15 to $20 for parking. You just put this on your car, you get to enter for free. I got this. I also think it's important. We have a library of things. I went to go check out the Zelda game. It's on Nintendo Switch. You could also check out the actual console and controllers. So go and check out games. I also checked out this Cards Against Humanity Family Edition. If you're ever hosting friends and you need free games and board games, they have it at the library of things. And lastly, in relationship to the LGBTQ books, I went to the New Hope Library and had some difficulty, in terms of, I think, maybe on the end of, the bookshelf, have it be like LGBTQ history or something that kind of distinguishes it. But I got this Seeing Gender, and it's a LGBTQ book, and we have it here at our library. So if you want to check out this book, I'll be returning it soon. I'm sure we have a selection of other books, but wanted to make those comments.
Thank you, Commissioner Herrera. You're doing my job for me. I appreciate it. Thank you for being a supporter of the library and selling it. Yeah, where we love our Library of Things collections, and yeah, thank you.
Commissioner Herrera, what's the process of getting the state park pass?
It was very simple. You just take your library card and, and you go to the front desk, and you can either pick it up at the main library or the New Hope Library, and they'll send you an email that lets you know that it's ready for pickup. And then I believe you have 3 weeks to utilize it, and then you can return it, check it out again. And if there's usually a wait list, So but it took me 2 weeks. It took me 2 weeks, which is not bad, not bad.
And we are in the process of getting additional, at least 25 additional passes, where the numbers unfortunately are controlled by the state. So I can only get so many, but we will have more. Hopefully that'll bring down the 2-week wait time a little bit. And I believe we're going to get 25 additional passes to circulate.
Awesome. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and move to the Parks and Facilities Staff Report.
Hello again, everyone. So there's a lot of information in the staff report. I am just going to highlight a couple of projects and then take questions if there are any. We've already covered a couple of the big projects that are currently under construction. Just wanted to mention that the new synthetic turf at the stadium was recently completed, and they've already played, I believe, 3 games. We are close to finishing up the 3 new restrooms at Campesino, Madison, and Memorial Parks, and we have 4 more that are in queue. The units are on order. Under construction, we have the Rayton Myrtle Park that's currently underway, the irrigation, complete new irrigation system at Cabrillo Park. And there is one other project that was not in the report that I wanted to share with you if we have a minute. If I could figure out how to do this. Can everyone see my screen? Is that everyone able to see my screen?
Yes, we are.
Yes.
Okay. So out at Santiago Park on the east end, east of the pedestrian bridge at Santiago Street, all the way to the park limits at the Garden Grove Freeway. Ron Ono, but when he was with us, developed a concept plan for a habitat restoration project, and a grant application was submitted. This is about more than 6 months ago already, about 9 months ago. This is a rendering of that project, and it's a very subtle. I don't want to call it a development project because it's not developing, but there's a undeveloped area that's just trees and dirt, and we want to do some minimal upgrades to it, create a walking path, introduce irrigation, lighting, more trees, more riparian planting, planting that's going to attract butterflies and birds. We were notified by the state that they're interested in funding this. We requested $500,000 to do design. We had a site visit today, and it went very well. And it looks like we may get this funding. They are asking us for letters of recommendation, and I would like to request that we could get a letter of recommendation from the commission to send to the state.
Is that a motion? Do we motion to approve a letter for this project?
Susie, what is the recommendation that you're asking again?
Oh, and I apologize if I've done this out of order. I just am requesting a letter of recommendation from the commission supporting this project.
Thank you, Susie. Yes, we can definitely do a motion for that. Can I get a motion in a second, please?
I'd like to motion for a letter of support in support of the Santiago Park Habitat Restoration Project.
I'll second that.
Thank you. And then we'll do a roll call on this. Commissioner Matthews?
Yes.
Commissioner Gomez? Commissioner Gomez? Commissioner Torreblanca?
Yes.
Commissioner Wu,
Yes.
Commissioner Herrera,
Yes.
and Commissioner Ramirez.
Yes.
Duly noted. Are there any other questions or any comments regarding the Parks and Facilities staff report? Great, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move over now to the Santa Ana Zoo staff report.
Good evening, commissioners. I'll go through the report right here. So as usual, I'll start with a few updates on the animal services section and what's going on with the animals at the zoo. We introduced a new howler monkey in, and that's been very, very active all around her habitat. We also hatched out 3 baby Rhea chicks. They're really adorable little birds. Ultimately, they'll get about 75, 80 pounds, but right now they're little tiny things. And we're raising them in a back area right now until they get a little bit bigger. And then they'll go live in our large grasslands habitat with our guanacos. The butterfly area, that experience continues to go very well. We were on the news one morning, early in the morning. We've had different media coverages from the newspaper, and it's a great photo opportunity if you make it to the zoo to get some time with the butterflies. As far as education programs, we're ramping up for the school season to start. October is when it really gets going, and we have a lot of field trips at the zoo. We also rolled out a new story time for Santa Ana residents on Santa Ana Residents Day, so the 3rd Sunday of every month. And then as far as the field trips go, there's 2 different programs, which are the primary programs schools come for, the Zoo Explorer, and then we have 2 age groups of that program, one for kindergarten and then one that's geared towards 1st through 3rd grade. Construction wise, there's a lot of construction going on around the zoo still. The giant river otter project continues to move along really well. There's some areas in the fencing where you can see the progress, lots of pipes going in the ground, demolition, grading, lots of things happening, and hopefully in the near future, another contractor will mobilize on site and we'll start seeing some more construction above ground happening, which gets real exciting. Big thing happening this weekend. We're traveling to the Association of Zoos and Aquariums conference for the zoo's accreditation hearing. I'm going with some zoo staff. Hawk is going with us to represent Parks and Recreation. And then also we have some city leadership with the city manager joining us as well. And that'll be exciting. We've been working a long time towards the accreditation. It's been a big process. Some street side improvements that are happening. The improvements along Elk Lane and along First Street continue to move along. It looks like a construction site right now still on First Street, but it'll get pretty real fast once the irrigation and the landscaping come in. There's some lighting for some new signage elements that are going in there. The zoo's sign is getting repainted. It's gonna be a real nice spruce up out there and look very elegant. I didn't mention it in this report, but also Caltrans across the street is working on the parking lot that they have and doing some improvements that will mirror what the zoo has and are themed after the zoo with animal cutouts along their fences and new landscaping. And that's a project that they're working on right now. Working on a project to improve our ticketing system to make it more accessible for the public. You can buy tickets online, make it easier for event tickets. That's something that's coming up. As always, if you know anyone that wants to volunteer at the zoo, we have recurring volunteer orientations. It's on the first Saturday of even numbered months. They can sign up on the zoo website. We have a link to our volunteer sign up program and come to an orientation, learn about the different opportunities we have. There's really something for everyone. As far as the Friends of the Santa Ana Zoo, which is our nonprofit partner, they had a big weekend. Well, everyone at the zoo had a big weekend this past Saturday, as we had the 30th Zoofari event. That is the zoo's large fundraising gala. 250 people attended. I know the event grossed over $200,000, and it just really, really great event. We had live auction, a silent auction. There was a cocktail hour as people mingled and walked around the zoo. So really fabulous event. Kudos to the Friends of the Zoo for putting that on again, and everyone that was involved or attended. Thank you. And then coming up in the near future, and at the end of September, we have the Fascination of Orchids show and sale. This is the second year we've done that. We'll have different vendors with orchids. There'll be classes where you can learn about growing orchids, repotting them. Everyone always gets one as a gift and doesn't know what to do with it afterwards. So come get your questions answered. It's also great if you like taking pictures. Lots of pretty flowers to take pictures of. And then the very last thing is Boo at the Zoo is rapidly approaching. Halloween is right around the corner. So we will again have Boo at the Zoo as the zoo is decorated for Halloween. We also have one night, October 21st, that will be free for Santa Ana residents. That will only be open to Santa Ana residents. And we'll have information on where people can go to sign up for that and to come to the residents night. But then we of course have 4 other nights, and they have associated special tickets to come on those nights. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Are there any questions? I'll go ahead, Commissioner Matthews.
Thank you. You mentioned the orchid show. When is that again? And then when is the Boo at the Zoo?
Yes. So the orchid show is on September 23rd, 24th, and 25th. It was so popular last year that we expanded to 3 days.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then the Boo at the Zoo.
The Boo at the Zoo. The resident night is on October 21st, and that will require a RSVP to come. And the other nights are October 22nd and 23rd, 29th, and 30th. And it runs from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Commissioner. Go ahead, Commissioner Ramirez.
Cool. My first question, I just had kind of small little questions, which was the educational. You were saying you guys were doing a story time at the farm. Is that targeted towards adults or kids?
It's targeted towards kids. So
Okay,
we
and then,
have different story times. One story time is every Wednesday morning. We do story time, open to anyone that comes to the zoo. And then we also offer the one on the 3rd Sunday of every month, which is a weekend story time that we don't normally do.
Yeah, because my only concern would be usually I believe kids would be at school at that time. So to see what you guys' turnout for that tends to be on a Wednesday between 11:30. So see if there's a possible way to change an hour to a time that usually gets a higher amount of kids going to the zoo. So maybe a little bit after school hours or any way to find a way to do that story time where we can probably have a higher chance of kids attending the zoo and getting that. Again, I don't know what the attendance looks like for kids during that time, but I would looking at it.
We
I
get
would
about
assume there is.
50 people coming to it. So it's a pretty good turnout for the space they have. But I know we do have some, we'll definitely take that in consideration with the education team at the time. And coming out very soon, they'll be starting the park pop-ups again, which are in the afternoons, geared towards kids that are out of school for Wednesday and Friday afternoons.
Yeah, it was just a concern. If it's not possible, it's not possible, but it's more into consideration. And thank you very much. That'll be about it.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you, Commissioner Ramirez. Go ahead, Commissioner Torreblanca.
All right, thank you. And then I do apologize if I ran over like anyone speaking earlier. My like string fizzled out, so it was like freezing. But okay, so I did have a question for you, Ethan. So you were talking about field trips and how you have some for kindergartners and some for 1st through 3rd. Do we have any field trips planned for any older kids?
We do field trips for older kids, but that's usually something that we set up if the schools approach us. It seems like our largest audience for field trips is sort of the kinder through third grade range, But in our long range goal for the education department, we do want to offer more opportunities for older youth. And one thing that we have been involved with over the past year is the Santa Ana Youth Employment Program, which has been an opportunity for high school students to get involved with the zoo. I want to say we've had over a dozen Santa Ana youth just in the last 6 or 8 months come through the zoo. And we've even hired some of them into part-time positions.
Oh, that's great to hear. Yeah, I mean, I do love the Santa Ana Youth Employment Program specifically for that reason. It like gives kids the opportunities to really explore. And that's actually why I bring it up. I think having field trips with like high school students or even middle school students could expose them to zoo-related careers that they maybe didn't think of before. So that's why I bring up older kids. I know it's generally smaller kids that go to the zoos for field trips, but I just think it's great to expose our youth to kind of different career fields.
Definitely, and that is in our plan for the department. Just to expand that area more.
And that's it for comments on my end.
Thank you, Commissioner Torreblanca. Are there any other comments or questions from the commission?
Manager Fisher, I just want to congratulate you. Hopefully everything goes great at our trip.
Thank you.
For our accreditation. I wish us the best in that, and I really
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, so that's the only comment I have.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. At this point in time, we'll go ahead and move to the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services staff report.
Good evening, commissioners. I'm very happy to be batting cleanup tonight. So we have a lot of information coming out of Recreation. As you well know, that Recreation received the light switch going on back in March to start programming again after being on hiatus for about 2 years. And since that time, your recreation staff has produced an excellent egg adventure, a Juneteenth festival, a July 4th celebration, 13 movies in the park, 4 concerts in the park, in which while we were on our meeting tonight, we had to call help from SAPD because we were being overrun at Carl Thornton Park from the turnout from the residents that were going there to go see the concert that was taking place. And we've also
I'll second that.
Yeah,
I'll second that. Here, okay. Commissioner Ruby, man, hear the music? It's going great.
Awesome. Thank you, Commissioner Wu. We've also had 4 Birch Summer Night Series at Birch Park, 2 summer camps, and rookie baseball that has taken place. And, you know, that's all in a matter of just a few months from your recreation staff. And we're very excited to be back. We have been very intentional about bringing our programming back to the community of Santa Ana. What you experienced this summer was about 50% of what our capacity is. Our goal as we move forward into fall is to be at 75%, and by spring of 2023 have a full menu of services that we've done pre-pandemic back to the community. So during that time, we've been ramping up in terms of staffing, which was a key component to why we went through the incremental stages of our programming. And we are very close to being at a very good spot in terms of our full-time and part-time staff. So I'm very happy to report that. Some things of note for coming up on the horizon in terms of our very busy special event schedule. This Sunday, we have the Chicano Heritage Festival, August 28th, from 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. at El Salvador Park. We're very excited. This is the first time that we are hosting this event. It's our inaugural Chicano Heritage Festival, and we've been receiving a lot of positive feedback from the community, not only from the Santa Ana community, but also regional support as well, too. On September 17th and 18th, we have our Fiestas Patrias celebration taking place at the Civic Center Plaza. More specifically on Flower Street, because of some logistical considerations, we are going back to Flower Street for this year's celebration. And those times for the days that we're going to be celebrating, September 17th will be from 12 p.m. to 10 p.m. and the 18th will be 12 p.m. to 9 p.m. I'll keep it there because by the time, well, I'll say one more. I'll just go all the way. Mid-Autumn Festival, which will be taking place on October 1st at Rosita Park, will be taking place, will will be hosted from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. And then our Indigenous Peoples Day celebration will be October 8th, 2022 here at the Civic Center Plaza. And that will be 11:30 a.m. to roughly 8:30 p.m. So a lot of really exciting special events that will be coming towards to the community in just the next 2 months. Some things that we want to highlight: your recreation division has been really pursuing partnerships and collaborations. Right now, we have a collaboration with OCTAC, which is a community-based organization that provides art, both digital, dance, music, and quite a few other forms of art at 4 of our centers, specifically Roosevelt Walker, Jerome, and Salgado, and by the end of September, Garfield Community Center. In addition, we're also partnered with the Research Foundation, which will be providing very soon 0 to 3 infant care that is free at El Salvador Park. So we're very excited to bring that to your attention. That's been a long road, a lot of permits, a lot of state funding that has been postponed, but we're finally at a point where we've pulled permits and we should be going into construction to those classrooms very shortly. Happy to announce that we're going to be pursuing a partnership with our Santa Ana Public Library for teen time spaces at Garfield Community Center in El Salvador. That will most likely be on the swing end of the year in January 2023. And we are piloting a PAL partnership at Roosevelt Walker, and that will be starting on September 7th, 2022. In addition, we will be having a Northeast substation at Roosevelt Walker, in which there will be a 24/7 SAPD presence at Roosevelt Walker, which in our opinion is needed for the reason for safe access to our parks and our community centers. And we're really excited to see kind of the data points that we're going to get in terms of response time and also just community involvement after having this pilot program in place for about a year. So we'll be able to share that information with you once we get that up and started. Another exciting thing, we do have a signed agreement with Street Football World for an installation of a 5v5 replay pitch, which is brought to you by Lay's and PepsiCo. So that will be going in probably either at the end of this year or the beginning of next year at Cesar Chavez Campesino. This will be our second mini pitch that will be installed at one of our parks. This one is actually turf-based, so it won't look like it will look like Delhi, but it won't have the same features as Delhi is a hard court. Well, this will be a synthetic turf pitch, so we're excited about that. I'm going to share my screen real quick. We are in the midst of a very exciting time between the library and the library, the zoo, and recreation. As most of you know, and I don't know if everybody can see that, if I could just get a couple of nods of the head. Excellent. We are rebranding our recreation guide, and we want it to look more like a lifestyle guide than just a list of classes and where you can go and everything like that. So what is tentatively being called the Cultura, which will feature our zoo services, our library services, and our parks and recreation classes. This is kind of the feeling that we're going for. It's more photographic in nature, more lifestyle based. And these are just a few of the pages as an example of what is going to be a hybrid delivery of both hard copies that will be intentional as far as where we deliver those, and also in digital form. We want to reduce that footprint that we have. When in the past, we've sent out quite a bit of hard copy guides to all the residents. So we're going to try to see if we can navigate away from that and go more digital. But some of these pictures you may recognize are already existing locations within Santa Ana, but this is kind of the layout that we've been working on with our vendor who is going to be helping us produce this. So I'm very happy to have worked with Ethan and Brian in coming together and bringing our teams together, and all the contributions our teams have made to bring this to you. And our first guide, our lifestyle guide, the Cultura, will be debuting on October 5th. At least that's our target date right now. So feature fall 2022 classes, activities, events, some spotlights on some of our instructors, maybe some artist spotlights as you've seen as I've been scrolling through and all that type of stuff. So we're very excited for that opportunity. Lastly, I want to bring to the attention of the commission, and still going to share my screen. We've been approached, and we're very happy to entertain the idea of from the LA Lashings. They're a cricket club, a semi-pro cricket club that have asked us to explore the possibility of installing cricket cages, which is essentially like a batting cage for cricket, at Bomo Corral Park. They would install the cages and maintain the cages, and also give Parks and Recreation the opportunity to market their classes and sometimes for the public to go over there and to learn cricket. And much as to what Susie has said, as far as us exploring dynamic programming, as far as I know, we've had cricket in the Santa Ana community in the past. More on, if you've already played it, you can come and play in an adult league. But this is an opportunity for young people to be exposed to cricket as a game and maybe find it as a lifelong activity that they can do. So wanted to receive some feedback, or more importantly, if there was any reservations from the commission as far as us exploring this with the LA Lashings group. And with that, I'll end my presentation, but I'll be here for any questions that you may have or any comments that you have with regards to the cricket cage installation at Bomo Corral Park. Thank you very much.
Are there any questions from the commission? All right, seeing none, we're gonna go ahead and.
I have some
go right ahead, sir.
Hello, Manager Pagano. In relationship to the cricket, would the land maintain itself as like would it be still Santana property, or would it be the property of this league that you mentioned?
It would be an asset of the Bomo Corral Park. So essentially, they would install it knowing that it would still be City of Santa Ana park space. It would just be almost like a basketball court that we would put in there if there was a third party that wanted to bring in a basketball court, do all the construction, put up the hoops, all that type of stuff. It would still be an amenity of the park, but their motivation is to bring the game of cricket to the Santa Ana community, run some academies for kids that may already have a proclivity for cricket, but also expose it to, and working with Parks and Recreation to bring those classes to the general population of the community.
Great, I like to hear that. And the other, I know, would folks need to pay to be a part of the program? And if they do, is there a way that we can offer stipends or programs to those youth, Santana youth specific, that would be a part of the program?
That can definitely be mentioned in the agreement that we would go into with the LA Lashings, is to identify maybe some scholarship funds for Santa Ana based youth, so that again it can be that much easier for them to participate in the activity itself.
Great, thank you so much, Manager Pagano. I also have some comments in relationship to our community gardens. I went to go visit them. They're great. I was able to take some squash home with me. Blue there at the staff was amazing. She gave me a tour. I have been able to communicate with the UCI professor, Dr. Alana LeBron, and her findings on lead in our soil. And so for me, I'm concerned. They came to my house and they tested the soil in my house at 3 separate points. I have nopales at home, and my mom's cuts them, and I let her know, hey, it came back. We have excess amounts of lead in our dirt, and maybe no more nopales. And my mom's like, just boil it. I'm like, Ma, that's not how it works. So thinking about our gardens, I know food is directly planted on the ground, and so I think for me, thinking about possibly testing our gardens, or seeing if there's lead. I know the data and the findings by Dr. LeBron. She mentions testing parks. So For me, I think I want to meet with the UCI professor to be able to, hey, what does your data show in relationship to parks? More specifically, did they test anywhere near our community gardens? And that if there is lead that is found or has been found, I'm like, maybe we need to create beds, raise beds, in other forms that would be, healthy food that we would be handing out and for the community to kind of come in. So those are some comments that I just wanted to share, at least with the commission and the public.
Thank you, Commissioner Herrera.
Yes, lastly was Earth Day. I know Manager Pagano trying to communicate like, hey, a cleanup day, or I think it's important. Earth Day is on April 22nd, 2023. I think it would be really great as a commission if we can come together to do a city-sponsored event on, hey, let's go clean up a park, let's plant some trees, let's think about our Mother Earth, and so climate change is real, and I think that we can play a part in elevating this holiday, and so maybe something I can bring back at the next commission meeting for us to further discuss and provide direction to the department. I have no further questions or comments.
Thank you, Commissioner Herrera. Are there any other questions or comments from the rest of the commission?
I have a comment as well, Commissioner Ramirez.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Real quick, real simple. It would be that if we can make the cricket court seem something it's still something on our property and it's being sponsored by the program, I think it'd be a great opportunity for the city. It's allowing a new program or a new sport to be introduced into a community that necessarily wouldn't have access to that. I myself never really seen cricket be played or understand the rules, but I would love to actually go through a session of it to understand what the rules are, see what goes around. Because I know it's not very popular in the US, but it's a really popular thing in India and along with in the European area. So I'd love to get a way to have Santana, some kind of way to introduce some kids into that. So if we can find that evidence also to do the scholarships, I would completely support this program or support the idea. If we could get some scholarships to get some kids to do it, along with making sure that the city contains and remains to stay on property of those items.
Thank you for those comments, Commissioner Ramirez. I appreciate it. And just as a side note, there's actually a professional team that is going to start playing in the city of Irvine. They're in the development agreement right now to build a cricket pitch. So that's kind of why the LA Lashings are reaching out to us, because you have the pro team, semi-pro team kind of dynamic that you see in like baseball and hockey and everything. So, but yeah, I think there may be a surprising interest in cricket coming to Southern California very soon. So thank you for those comments.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions from the commission? Excellent. Seeing none, we're going to go ahead and move over to commission comments. We'll go ahead and get started with Commissioner Matthews.
Nothing, not much. I'm just very excited to hear about all these new programs and projects that's happening here in our city. So I look forward to all of them, and I can't wait to go and visit these parks. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Matthews. We'll go ahead and move over now to Commissioner Torreblanca.
Yeah, hi. So Commissioner Torreblanca here. So I just have one comment. It was brought to my attention that the teen excursion program has I wanted to ask a question about what happens to kids when they, if they unfortunately can't make it to one of our field trips.
Are you speaking as far as like we've reached capacity and there's no more room for them to participate?
No. So I'm asking as to if a kid signs up, right, and then they're unfortunately not able to make it. Things happen, things come up last minute, especially. It happens, and so I want to know what happens in that case.
Sure. Good question. In some cases, well, in most cases, because the teen excursion program has become so popular, we usually have a waiting list that is generated. And most of the time, because you are playing a little bit of a game of chicken with last second changes to schedule and all that type of stuff, we encourage those kids that if they can make it, if they're on the waiting list, to come to Salgado Center to maybe see if there's that last second change or that last second show up, no show, so that then they could then join as long as their waivers are all signed off and they're ready to participate in the excursion. So that's usually how we approach it. And there's been a few instances where kids have shown up and then we have those no shows and they're able to go on the excursion. So we try to maximize the experience for as many kids and as many tickets as we have for each one of those excursions.
Okay. Just following up with that. So my question wasn't what happens to the slot. It's what happens to the to the individual.
Like, I guess I'm not understanding your question.
sorry. So the student, right? So if the student can't make it right that day, are they still just able to continue with the program and just,
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Yes. Now I understand. Yeah. I mean, it's more of like an a la carte type of situation where, as soon as we make registration live, I think we utilize our past participant rosters to send the word out to everybody so that they have an opportunity to register for the next excursion, in addition to the programming that we do via the website and through our social media and everything. Once we kind of open up the registration, it's first come, first serve, but it doesn't preclude the person that no-showed for that day from participating again.
Okay, yeah, that's great to hear. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to make sure that we're servicing all of our students and making sure, I mean, things happen and things like that. And I'm glad that we're filling up those empty spots. So, I mean, I'm so happy to hear that there's kids literally lining up waiting for these. I think the Team Excursion program is a great program. And it's great to be able to give these opportunities. I mean, I've spoken before a lot about how, like, I grew up an impoverished child in Santa Ana, so I didn't get a lot of these experiences. So I'm really glad we're able to provide this for our residents.
I'd like to add a comment to that as well, if it's not out of line. It's also, it's as Commissioner Torreblanca said, it's also come to my attention that I've been told that kids who don't attend those programs, who don't show up, actually get suspended for a month or two. So like, I like to ask you, Mr. Pagano, if that's true. Has there been kids that have been kind of prohibited or barred from attending the program a month or two, those following month or two, after not showing up for that scheduled monthly one? Because if so, I'd like to find another way to circumvent that. I don't want to bar any kids from attending future projects, especially when everybody here has always had things show up last minute, especially coming from a lower income or more situational family. It's kind of hard to, even with the last minute warning, things always come up and kids don't necessarily want to call to give those announcements. So I like to just see if it's true that those comments of kids being suspended, I'd hope to find a different way to do so, just to eliminate. And I don't want to suspend or prohibit any kids from attending those programs in the coming weeks or months after not showing up for that one time. I'd like to find a different way to try to get access to those kids so we can try to negate that as much as possible.
Sure. No, and thank you for bringing that to my attention. I don't know if that's something that we pivoted to based on maybe seeing too many no-shows, because the program is free, right? And so, if you don't have any, skin in the game in terms of, any cost or any investment in it, it's maybe easier to walk away from it. But I don't think that we should be pivoting towards like a punitive type of situation. We should try to find a way to, engage the youth and say, hey, is there a better way for us to get information or give you more lead time or get a way for you to communicate to us, just so that we can continue to have that conversation and that dialogue rather than just shutting it down with what is essentially a timeout. Timeouts don't work, and I'm not a big fan of them. So I'll definitely communicate with our teens and older youth supervisor, Anthony Novella, get some information, and by the next meeting I'll be able to report out, and I'll also provide some solutions to, if we did go to that, what we plan on doing in the future. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for working with us as well. I appreciate everything you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Commissioner Wu?
I'm sorry, I'm kind of distracted. I'm just going to say I'm very excited what's going on in the library and some of the programs that are going on. As you can hear behind me, I won't keep on. I'll save my questions for next month because I'm distracted at this time, but thank you very much for the information.
Go ahead, Executive Director Hawkscott.
I was gonna say, hey, Ms. Ruby, why don't you turn on that camera there and show us what you're experiencing out there? So what we're all missing right now.
I'm sorry, I can't do it.
Turn that
I
camera on. It shows the excitement that the Parks and Rec team, brings to our residents here.
Oh, there is a lot of excitement and the music's fantastic. The music has been fantastic in all the parks that I've gone to every single concert, so I didn't want to miss this one, so I apologize for.
That's great, we love that. We want you to turn on your camera, show us.
I'm sorry, I'm not technology savvy, so I don't know how to do that. I'm sorry.
That's all right, we hear you. We hope you're out there, rocking, and we'll be out there shortly after this meeting. So thank you for supporting us, and commissioners, hey, come join us, man. All right, Bill, sorry, you may continue.
Not a problem. Commissioner Herrera.
Hi, yes. To the public, I want to let you know that please go and get your monkeypox vaccine if you are eligible. We have 19 cases that were reported last week. One new case that was reported this week. You can find vaccine information at ochealthinfo.com/monkeypox. The Orange County Healthcare Agency is distributing monkeypox, so please go and get that done. I also want to read in honor of our Chicano Heritage event this weekend. I wanted to read into the record A People's Guide to Orange County, page 55 and 56. Chicano Power Protests at El Salvador Park. This park was originally named Artesia Park as a part of the Artesia Pilar Barrio, one of the oldest in the city and originally settled by refugees from the Mexican Revolution who came here to take on agricultural work. It was renamed El Salvador Park in 1958 as a gesture of international friendship during the Cold War, when US leaders sought sister cities and friendly relationships with developing countries facing a choice between allying with the US or the USSR. In the 1970s, this space became a site where Chicano Power activists gathered for community activism. In June 1978, hundreds of high school and middle school students walked out of the class, including students from Saddleback High, who walked 7 miles here, encouraged by college students leaders from Mecha. Like the protesters in the more famous 1968 East LA blowouts, Orange County youth were concerned about the high Mexican-American dropout rate, the low skills of those who did graduate, and the racism that funneled Mexican-American students to vocational classes and special education. Their signs read, "Viva la raza," and "What about me?" Their demands included mandatory ethnic studies, a Spanish-speaking nurse, a counselor at each school, more Mexican and African-American school staff, and an end to mass suspensions. Ironically, school officials responded by suspending everyone who walked out, but they also committed to hiring more diverse staff and offering ethnic studies electives. The hiring happened, but the ethnic studies part was not achieved until nearly 40 years later. In August 1976, hundreds also gathered here to march to the Santana Police Headquarters, successfully protesting proposals in which local police would have targeted undocumented immigrants. Decades before most mainstream Hispanic organizations spoke up in defense of the undocumented. Today, El Salvador Park contains a community garden where residents of the nearby apartments grow native crops to their homelands. The neighborhood is pressured by gentrification, and a proposed streetcar threatens to tear up the streets around it, isolating El Salvador Park from the rest of the Santana community. Boom, a little bit of history about El Salvador Park and Chicano Power protests that happened at the time. So see you all here on this weekend for our festival, Chicano Heritage Festival this weekend. So those are the only comments I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Herrera. Commissioner Ramirez.
Cool, awesome. My comments are going to be just, I appreciate everybody's work. Everyone from the zoo to the library to the Parks and Rec. You guys are doing a great job. I appreciate it. We wouldn't be here without you guys. And again, most of the time it's you guys that do all the work, and we appreciate everything you guys do. And then also thank you for Chairperson Herrera. Great words. I need to get access to that book. Can I have that title again? I need to actually read that book.
It's A People's History, A People's Guide to Orange County.
Okay.
Maybe I'll drop it off at the library.
There you go. There you go. Cool.
We just did a program with the authors, so we have copies here.
Oh, nice. There you go. A reason to go to the library. All right, awesome. And then just saying thank you everybody else. And again, I just want to double take on that program for the teen excursion, just to make sure we always find a possibility to navigate or try to avoid giving any kind of kids a negative repercussion for it. We always want to give opportunity to kids when they can't make it. We always have to find a way to offer that opportunity for others, or to still offer that opportunity. We never know when a kid's situation is like. All we can do is help. So thank you all of you guys, and I think that's going to be it.
Thank you, Commissioner Ramirez. That concludes commission comments. Are there any other comments from the Parks and Recreation Manager or Executive Director? Seeing none?
No, I got one.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead.
Bill. Hey guys, just just wanted to let you know with Chicano Heritage Festival this weekend, if you guys can help us spread the word and share the word, especially the parking PDF that we put out to help direct people to Santa Ana College, as they are assisting us with the parking lot 7. That would be great. And like I said, just you guys just keep watching what we're going to do. The partnerships we have with Brian and his team, and all the other departments in the city, and what Ethan's doing there at the zoo. I mean, we just got an email in that KTLA is going to be coming out on September 7th to do a Stir and a Butterfly. So Ethan, in the span of a month, has been on KTLA twice. So very proud of him and his team. So again, guys, like I said, Tim, Susie are working their butts off, I mean, just everyone, and just be prepared to, what we're going to do, engage in the community and the programs we're going to bring, and just everything. And again, thank you guys for your support. And like I said, get people out to our parks, get them out to our programs, get them out to our libraries to see, what we're doing for you guys. So that's all I really got. I just want to thank you all.
Thank you, Executive Director. Not hearing any other comments or questions. It is now time for adjournment. The next meeting of the Parks, Recreation, and Community Services Commission is scheduled for September 22nd, 2022 at 5:30 p.m. This meeting is now adjourned at 7:30 p.m. Thank you all.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, guys.